The HSA is a powerful tool in your financial life. Are you using it appropriately? Are you maximizing its planfulness in your financial plan? I've got that and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, so HSA is an unbelievably powerful tool. I'm recording this video during tax season where it's this unique window where you can contribute to your HSA both for this year, but you can still do it for last year up until the tax filing deadline to improve your tax return. So important to hit some of the benefits, but also one of the unique features of the HSA that you need to be aware of. So first, just the basics. In order to have a health savings account, in order to open one, you need to have a qualifying HSA eligible high deductible health plan. And high deductible, that seems like a relative term, right? Feels high to me. Anything feels high to me. I don't want to pay anything out of pocket. No deductible. But it's got to be HSA eligible. And way back when, it was essentially if you had a health insurance plan with a deductible of a couple $1,000s or more, then it was going to be HSA eligible. Not so anymore. Not so anymore. Right now, you've got to just double check, make sure that your health plan, even if it seems like a high deductible, is actually HSA eligible. Some of them are not. Some of them are HRA. Some of them are just not HSA eligible at all. So you got to make sure you have a qualifying high deductible health plan. And if you do, then you're able to, you're not required to, but you're able to open up a special bank account called the Health Savings Account, or HSA. Even though you're able and it's not required, you absolutely should. This is the power of that qualifying high deductible health plan. You can make contributions into it. Your employer can as well. That's the twist we're going to talk about in just a second. As you make contribution, it's pre-tax money in, saves you taxes, okay? When you contribute out of your paycheck, it saves you federal taxes, state taxes if you have those, and FICA taxes, that's right. So it saves you extra money when you contribute out of your paycheck. You could also just contribute out of your pocket, and there's times when you're going to want to do that. I'll explain in a minute. And that is a deduction on the front page of your tax return, saves you federal taxes and state taxes. That money now, thankfully, is earning a little bit of interest. That interest is tax sheltered, tax deferred. You could even invest your HSA. I'm a big fan of that. All of that tax growth or investment growth over the long term, that's tax sheltered as well. And then when you withdraw the money from your HSA, it's not use it or lose it, by the way. Let me just point that out. I was doing an interview recently, and even the host of the radio stations I said it's not use it or lose it, and then he was like, well, okay, I remember when it was. No, HSAs are not use it or lose it. FSAs are use it or lose it. HSAs are designed, it's a bank account that you can save up into as long as you're eligible, but you don't have to ever take money out. You can. You're not forced to. It's your money, okay? When you do take money out, if it's for eligible medical expenses, then it comes out tax-free. It's the only thing I know of in the tax code where it's pre-tax in and tax-free out. It's an unbelievable deal. You can even reimburse yourself for medical expenses that you incurred while having a high deductible health plan. In the past, currently, there's no statute of limitations on when you have to reimburse yourself. So the shoebox method, done a lot of videos on that. It's a great strategy if it's applicable in your situation. All right, so that's the high level of the HSA. Now here's the thing. How do employer contributions work in regards to your HSA contribution? I'm going to tell you a story, an example that we're going through right now, because as we do probably 3,000 tax returns, we sit down with folks, getting the tax return right. Again, that's sort of step one. But then step two and step three is how can you optimize? What opportunities make sense in your situation for you to save taxes, pay less taxes for last year, and then how can you do that for this year and moving forward? What are the planning opportunities? And when people come in and they've got an HSA, so they've got an HSA eligible high deductible health plan, they've contributed some to an HSA, but they haven't contributed all, they haven't hit the maximum. Oh my goodness, we're licking our chops saying, okay, do you have the cash flow? Does it make sense for you to contribute more to your HSA before you file this tax return? And you've got to understand how employer contributions work. And let me explain that and I'll tell you the story. When you're thinking of your 401k, with your 401k, you can contribute up to $22,500 in 2023. Say your company offers a match, right? Does your company match influence your ability to contribute that full $22,500? Say you make $100,000, your company matches $4,000 or 4%, so they're going to contribute $4,000. It's a great match, fantastic. Well, does that $4,000 count towards your $22,500 limit? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Your limit, your contribution limit is $22,500. If your employer offers a match, it's above that limit. There's a different ceiling of over $60,000 total that can go into your 401k. So you're fine with an employer match. All right, so that's how the 401k works. And some of you can see, well, where I'm going with this, with an HSA. If your employer does a contribution to your HSA, say $500, say $1,000, not all of them do, I don't think most do, but some do, some of them do. And if they do, does that count towards your contribution limit? It does. It does. So for a family plan in 2023, your contribution limit to an HSA is $7,750. Well, if your employer contributes $1,000 to that, you can only put in $6,750, and you need to be aware of that, right? So the overall contribution limit is, whether it's your contribution out of your paycheck, out of your pocket, or from your employer, the total amount for a family, $7,750. If you're age 55 or older, that's the catch-up where you can do an extra $1,000. If your spouse is also that age and a family plan, they can contribute to their HSA. It's complicated. Work with your CFP on that. But you've got to be aware of those contribution limits and who's contributing. You've got to keep track of your employer contribution. So here's the scenario, okay? Meeting with an individual recently, they contributed $5,000 to their HSA. So there was room left to contribute more. So last year, the family contribution limit was $7,300 to their HSA. So we looked and said, do you have $2,300? You could contribute $2,300 to your HSA. And so they said, yeah, I actually do, and single mom and a couple kids, so I know we're going to spend the money. So yeah, I've got $2,300. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And when they went to do it, the company actually, thankfully, the company caught them and said, you can only contribute $1,300. And they were very, very frustrated by this. And it turned out because their employer had made a contribution. They weren't aware of it. They weren't looking at their W-2. They weren't aware of that. And so there was a little bit of confusion. And then we had to just start asking them questions. Well, wait a second. Did you contribute? Did your employer contribute? And it got a little confusing and back and forth a little bit until finally they realized, oh yeah, my employer contributed $1,000. Now, your contributions out of your paycheck and your employer's contribution, they're both going to show up on your W-2. They may not show, well, they should show up on your pay stub as well if your pay stub includes employer contributions to things. But it will definitely show up on your W-2. Box 12B, I believe, code W is HSA contributions, but it's HSA, it's employee and employer contributions to your HSA are right there in that code. So that's the truth. That's the truth, and that will then tell you how much extra can you fund out of pocket. If you're making all of your HSA contributions out of your paycheck, then this is all going to sort itself out. Most companies have a robust enough system to show, okay, wait, your employer's contributed this, you've hit the max, you can't contribute anymore. So most payroll systems will be able to stop you out if you're making contributions, all your contributions right out of your paycheck. The scenario, the times when you're really going to need to be aware of this are times like right now where you might make a contribution out of your pocket, because you're looking at your tax return and saying, gosh, I haven't maxed out my HSA. Maybe you've got a $2,000 refund coming and you think, well, gosh, it'd be nice to have that $2,000, but I just know, daughter needs braces. And so why don't I take that $2,000 refund and put it into my HSA and make that contribution before April 18th. And I make it as a deduction on this year's return. So instead of getting $2,000 back, I'm actually going to get $2,500 back or something like that because I've added that deduction in there. You funnel that into your HSA and there you go. So those are the fabulous financial planning opportunities that exist right now during this season before the tax filing deadline. Lots of people are taking advantage. You should be taking advantage of those, but you've got to be aware of how much did you contribute, how much did your employer contribute, and therefore how much can you still put in without going over and having excess contributions. That's a problem. Those are penalized and so on. Work with your certified financial planner. I say all the time, anytime you're getting your tax return done, you first need to make sure it's accurate. Every dollar is counted. You've got all your deductions, everything. It's all accurate. Next, you've got to look at that return and say, is there anything I can do right now before I sign it, before I file it, to improve last year's return? The HSA is one of the things that you've got to consider. And then the final question, number 3, is what's going on in my financial situation or tax situation this year that should influence how I plan for my taxes right now? 401k contributions going up, making some other 529 contributions going up, those sorts of things. Those are the 3 questions you need to answer with your certified financial planner so that they can help you creatively figure out how to optimize your taxes. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.